Good morning and welcome to another Nature Trek moth trap. Now for those of you who weren't able to join us last month, this moth trap forms the first part of our open days, which we run here at our Mingledown Barn offices in New Hampshire on the first Friday of every month. Other open day activities include guided wildlife walks and of course a chance to chat to our wildlife travel experts about your wildlife holiday plans over a cup of tea or coffee and some cake. Sadly, of course, we're still not able to do this, but that's not going to stop us. We will continue bringing our moth trap to you online for you to enjoy from the comfort of your own home, and we'll see what we've caught this month. Now last month the highlight of our moth trap was a small elephant hawk moth. The weather last month was a bit showery, it was cool and it was slightly cloudy. However, last night we had clear skies, it's sunny this morning, which means it's a bit warmer, so the moths already may have started warming up, which might make it more difficult for us to film because they'll be quite active, so this may be quite interesting, but we'll see how we get on. My name's Sarah Frost, I'm Nature Trek's marketing manager, and I'm joining our in-house moth expert Dave Shute, who's going to tell us more.
Hello Sarah, so here we are again. It's a slightly warmer day than it was last time, where it was blowing a gale and we were pretty cold standing out here. This morning it's quite a bit brighter. We're still in the shade, but that's mainly to keep the moths quiet. Otherwise we'd be sitting out in the sun.
Yeah, it is a lovely sunny day.
So it is, yeah.
View of our orchard here.
So we'll make a start. We may lose a few because it is warmer and they might already be active and start to fly, but hopefully a good few will hang on.
I don't know if I'm feeling terribly nimble this morning to be chasing moths around our orchard, but we'll see how we get on.
Okay, so we'll make a start.
Yep.
We'll take the first boxes out. The box. And I've already lost one.
Crikey.
Where did that go? Okay, so there'll be quite a few of the micro moths in here that we'll lose them. They tend to fly quickly and they're very tiny, and we haven't really got the time to go into those and identify them all. So we'll stick mainly with the larger moths. Having said that, some larger moths are quite small. So down in here, oh dear, it's going to be hard to film, I think, is a small fan-footed wave, but it's tucked way down in there.
Crikey, well that's not a very thoughtful position for that moth to put itself in, is it?
Well, unfortunately it's a...
Try and... oh, there we go, no, we've got it. Okay, yeah, so the name, just repeat it again.
Small fan-footed wave.
Right.
Now the waves are a group, quite a lot, sorry, do you want
That's okay.
Oh, it's gone.
Oh, it's gone, right, well at least everyone got to see it quite closely before
might land.
There it is, flying next to our one of our doors, right, and it's settled down there, but well, we'll leave it in peace there. It seems to find the right spot.
The waves are a group of moths all belonging to a large family called Geometers, and it means that they all lay with their wings flat when they're resting, so they'd be on the underside of a leaf to camouflage themselves maybe, and they just lie flat so there's no obvious projections for things to spot them. But they're very much more active than a lot of other groups of moths, which tend to sit quite calmly. These things are notoriously difficult to photograph or things, because as soon as you let them out they fly, like that one just did. Even on cold days sometimes they do that. Right. Here we've got the most worn burnished brass I've ever seen on the top, which is, last time when we had this we had a lovely specimen.
There you go. I think if we pop it on the table that might be best.
We had a lovely specimen last time, which really
we did,
showed
didn't we? That was lovely.
The sort of shiny green colours. But
it's not very colourful at all.
This one has had its best days.
Yes, yeah.
And it's going to... we may have others in here. They're quite a common moth, so there might be a better looking one.
Well, if you want to see a better specimen of a burnished brass, please see our first open day moth trap, which we did last month.
Okay. And on the other side, well, there were a couple of things, but mainly this one. I won't bother with the micros. This one in here, he's just jumped on the floor. This one in here is one of two species that can't be identified in the field,
Right.
and it is either a common rustic or a lesser common rustic.
Okay, and why can't they be identified in the field?
Well, they're just so similar, these two, that unfortunately it would have to be a dissection
Oh, crikey.
thing to actually separate them.
Yes, we're not going to get into
We're not doing that.
dissecting moths.
And in
no.
any case, you know, most recorders now accept it as an aggregate species, so you just submit it as a common rustic aggregate.
Right, okay.
And that's sufficient for most purposes.
Yep.
Unless you're doing a very sort of important survey of a particular area or something. Okay, we've got a few on here, I'm afraid. So that could be interesting. So in here we've got a number of moths here. In fact, we've got one of the largest micro moths here, which is the small magpie. We had this last time.
We did, didn't we? Should we pop it on the table and then we can film it without it wobbling as much?
It's a rather pretty thing. It's very common. You could easily get it in your garden, and if you walk out and disturb tall herbage in your garden, they could just flick out. They fly in the day as well as at night, and just because they belong to a family of micros, but they happen to be a large specimen of them.
Yes, yeah, they really are, aren't they?
And talking of micros, we have in here as well a much less common micro, rather attractive little yellow one with a brown border, and that doesn't have an English name, and it colonised Britain probably in the last 10 or 15 years. It's now becoming more regular in the south of England at least, and it's called Evergestis limbata.
Evergestis limbata.
It doesn't have an English name yet.
Right.
Well, not to my knowledge. Also on here, there's more. This one here, it's very worn again. That's very worn. It's a heart and club.
Heart and club.
Because it has a mark which looks something like a club.
Right.
And a heart and another mark which is circular or heart shaped, but it's a very poor specimen. Very difficult to see that. And then here on this side we have another micro moth, very strange looking one, which is a sort of T-shaped by my finger.
Oh, crikey.
So very hard to discern. Might be able to pick it up on the camera, I don't know.
Yes, yeah, I missed it just looking through the camera. I thought it was.
So this is one of the plume moths, and there are quite a few of those. This is probably a common plume. I haven't looked at it in detail, and the wings are actually rolled up, so rather like a sort of roller blind. So when it flies, they will drop down and open, and then it flies off. And of course, by doing that, it makes it less conspicuous, as you couldn't even see it. So any predators would probably struggle to see it.
That's just fascinating. It's so well camouflaged. You can imagine that just on a tree or a bit of grass or something.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see it at all, would you? Wow.
What else do we have in here? Now on the other side there's another of these ones that can't be done in the field, which is this one down in here, and the Victorians found it difficult even, and they called it the uncertain.
The uncertain.
And the reason is that there's a very, very similar moth called a rustic, as opposed to the common rustic we had earlier. There's one just called rustic.
Right.
And the uncertain and rustic are interchangeable, very difficult to separate, and even the Victorians had trouble, which is why they gave it that name. Again, without dissection, they now don't accept records generally of one or the other, so it's gone down as uncertain rustic aggregate.
Oh, right.
In records generally. And there was one. There was a. Can't get that one out. This one here is a type of wainscot. Wainscot because it's supposed to look like the wood effect You know, the sort of lines looking on it look a bit woody.
Yes, yeah, you can see that.
Again, good camouflage in reeds or sedge or grasses.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So the next one is coming out, and there's nothing. There you go. In here, we've got the notorious box tree moth, which is
Wow.
it's actually a micro moth, an even bigger one than the small magpie. But this is the one that is now causing some concern, particularly in box hedges in people's gardens,
Mhm.
because the caterpillar is eating them away, and it could become quite a pest species, although it's a very nice looking species.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is some concern that, and certainly it has damaged people's box hedges.
Oh, it's a bit lively.
So, but it is rather attractive.
Mm.
and only recently, again, it's a recent coloniser to Britain, and started off mainly in London, I think,
Right.
but has spread. And I think the big fear is that it gets into the native boxwoods, like Box
Yes.
Hill and other
Yeah.
areas like that,
Yeah.
where it would really destroy important habitat, let alone gardens, hedges. Okay, I'm trying to get them loose. Right, on here I've got a rather nice one. It's a plain golden Y. Rather attractive one. Do you want me to put it on the
Yeah, so we pop it on the table.
So it's in the same family as the burnished brass,
Mhm. You can see the similarity.
but in the shape it's quite similar. But it's rather attractive, sort of pinkish colour with there's a little bit of gold patterning on it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And a couple of little white dots on the wing. Quite a lot in this tray. There's about 5 different species here. So we've got a buff ermine, which
Lovely.
is this one here,
Yes,
with a
yeah.
very furry
The yellowish
head.
one.
Yeah, the yellowish one.
Mhm. Just tilt it
Tilt it where you
this
want it
way.
to be.
There we go. That's better.
Again,
Yes.
we could put this down if it
Mhm.
makes it easier for you.
It does.
And there we also have another uncertain stroke rustic.
That's this
which
one.
Is this one.
Yeah.
Then on this side we've got a ribboned wave. That's another geometer which sits flat.
Mhm.
It's RIBAND, riband wave.
Lovely.
And on this side we've got a yellow shell, which is another geometer sitting flat.
Yeah.
It's called a yellow shell. Have we got them all now? And this one down in here is
Big one.
a clay.
A
Just
clay.
called a clay.
Just a clay.
Slightly pinkish colour.
Lovely.
So quite a few on that. What?
Yeah. Quite productive.
And here's a really nice one on here, if it doesn't fly, which is a swallowtail moth.
Oh wow.
And really attractive thing, quite large. It's another geometer. Let me see if I can rest
Pop
it there.
that
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
So
Well, you can see where it gets its name.
really attractive, not rare, but it doesn't always come to traps, and it's a grassland species, so you might not get it in an urban area, but some people do. And it's just a really nice moth, and it fades very quickly from yellowish to white, but this one's in good condition. They also tend to lose their tails as well when they've flown a few times, so rather nice.
Yeah, very nice.
And on the same box here we have another heart and club, a slightly better looking
Oh yeah.
heart and club. And the biggest group of moths are the noctuids, and that's an octrid, and they hold their wings more in a tent-like posture, so slightly sort of pointed upwards, and they rest with the wings closed in nearly all cases. One or two don't, but nearly all do. And then on this side here we have a common footman. Here, this grey one. There goes the swallowtail.
Oh, the swallowtail is now on, Dave. Yeah, there we go. Oh, it's got a lovely. Oh, there it goes, and it's off.
It looks almost like a brimstone butterfly.
Yeah, it does. Yes.
It's going up into the
It's gone. There we go. Lovely.
So, yeah, here we've got a common footman, and I think we may have discussed these before, but the grey colour and the yellow outline were supposed to represent the uniforms of bellhops, people in hotels in Victorian times, who obviously took your cases and looked after clients. And there's a group of about 12, and one or two are brightly coloured, but most of them are that sort of grey colour. So the Victorians were great at naming things, some fantastic names as we come across them. And there's nothing on the other side of that one. Next box. And we've got another swallowtail moth.
Oh wow.
Almost camouflaged on the egg
Yeah,
box
it is,
there.
isn't it? Yeah. Wow. That's beautiful.
And we've got...
Is that a heart and dart?
It's a heart and dart, that one, rather than a heart and club.
Yeah, yeah.
And this one here that looks like it's damaged, it's not.
It does.
That's actually how it sits, with the bottom edge of the wing slightly curled upwards.
Yeah, how unusual.
It's called a barred straw.
If we just pop it down, I'll try and get the
I don't know if there's any on the other side. But
Oh, we'll have a
will it-
check.
Yeah,
There we
that's
go.
it.
Yeah, so we can just see this one first. And this is a barred straw.
Barred straw, yes.
Lovely.
Okay.
Yes,
There wasn't anything underneath anyway.
jolly good. All right.
Okay, next. Not a lot on that one. There's another wainscot here, and this one is a smoky wainscot. It's rather plain. The word smoky comes from the underwing, which you can't see here, which is a grey colour, as opposed to common wainscot,
Right.
which has a white underwing. And then there was a clay down in there, but it's not even as showy as the one you just filmed. And another uncertain stroke rustic. You probably can leave those because you've got a clearer view of those before. And here we've got...
I can see something nice and red next to your finger.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, no, your left
Oh,
finger.
there you go, yeah. That's a rather nice one as well. So talking of footman, this is one of the non-grey footmen. It's a rather attractive
Wow.
reddish
I'll
colour,
just pop it.
and it is called the rosy footman. Mind your finger on that one there, Garth.
Yeah, lovely. All right.
So that's
Wow.
called the rosy footman. Rather nice, lovely tracery marks on it. Not a rare moth, but again, always nice to catch one.
That's beautiful.
And not as elongate as the common footman, slightly more square shaped.
Yeah.
The footman moths are not noctuids, and they're not geometers either. They're in a separate group. There's others, like hawk moths are not in the same families as geometers and noctuids, so they're slightly different. And on that box as well, there were a couple of uncertain. That's an uncertain again, an uncertain rustic.
There's a long, thin one.
Yeah, that's
there.
a micro moth. There are a
Yeah.
lot of these. If you walk through grass and you kick up white moths, these are called grass veneers. There are lots of species and they're not easy to identify, but very common in grassland. And on this side there's a heart and club again, and another uncertain. Oh, there goes the barred straw.
Yeah.
So I think we've done those. Can't get all these out. And here we have a lovely hawk moth.
Oh, wow.
So here we've got a poplar. It's a poplar hawk moth, and
Oh, let's pop that down so we can
beautifully
have a look.
coloured.
That's
Actually
amazing.
more so than they usually are.
Is that going to stay there?
I have to find a resting point. There we go.
There we go. Wow.
It's almost showing a sort of purpley tinge. I don't recall seeing that on them before. It's obviously a fresh one.
And fresh, you mean freshly emerged?
As in not flown a great deal, so it hasn't worn the colours off. Moths will live from anything from a few individual moths from a few days to a few weeks. The larger moths probably live longer than the smaller ones. Obviously their principal aim is to mate and breed, and some moths even don't feed. They're so they do all their feeding in the larval stage, then obviously pupate, and then they come out and their whole purpose is just to find a mate and breed.
Yeah.
So they don't actually have mouth parts. So,
really?
But other moths do, and most hawk moths do feed. And in fact, some plants will, you've probably noticed in your gardens that some plants actually produce a scent in the evening, just before it gets dark. And these are plants that are actually adapted to be pollinated by moths. They're particularly tubular plants like convolvulus and other such species where the moth has got a long tongue, it can go in and feed, and obviously they rub off the pollen. So that's one thing. There are a number of plants that give off scent in the night, and they're also often very pale coloured. So if they're white or pink, then it shows up in the dark for the moths as they're coming round. So that's an interesting thing. And hawk moths themselves, well, they're lovely things. And this one is sort of performing like a dead leaf, and it's holding its wings in different planes to sort of break up the solid
its
outline.
profile, yeah.
And its tail is slightly hooked up, and fantastic things.
Beautiful, yeah.
Absolutely. I don't think there's much else. There's another clay and an uncertain, another barred straw, which we had.
Yes, yeah.
Possibly slightly better one there. Again, it's got the inner side of the wing curved up. Can you see that? It's a bit.
It's quite unusual, isn't it? Yeah.
And here we've got some other things in here. We've got another shoulder stripe wainscot that we had earlier. This one down here is another large micro. This is going to get confusing because we've had 3 very large micro moths today.
Yeah.
This one's called the mother of pearl because it has a slight pearlish sheen on it.
Oh, right.
Do you want me to put it down?
Yeah, I think if we put it down.
And then just an uncertain and a different sort of footman down in there. I don't know if you can get that. Down in there, you can see it's very, very tapered and very thin, and that's called a scarce footman. It's not particularly scarce, but I suppose it's rarer than the common footman.
Right, okay.
And there is a common footman in there as well.
Which we can see there.
So you can see that they're not as tightly, the wings are not folded quite as tightly on the
no, you
common.
can see the difference when you compare the two.
The scarce,
and that's a better view of the mother of pearl. It's there. Oh, crikey, wind. There we go, blowing it about a little bit. There we go, it's all right. Hello. Yeah, I think we're fine to carry on.
That.
Yeah.
I don't want to get that caught in my squash. There's another buff ermine there. Oh, I nearly squashed that one there. This one here is called a spectacle. Rather nice thing because it has 2 feathery circles on the front of its head. Nothing to do with its eyes, but it's just another camouflage tactic. But if you can get the view, it looks like it's wearing goggles, which is where the name comes from. It may be difficult because it's rather pointing downwards. The spectacles are right at the front there, sort of white. I could try and move it. You can see it from here. I don't really can see it from there though.
Let's have a look.
It's got a sort of quiff as well.
I can see the quiff.
And just below that it should have 2 white circles of hair. So the next box here we've got another different moth. It's one of the snout family, but this is actually called a fanfoot.
Wow.
And it's got rather nice geometrical lines on it. But it also has a slight sort of pout.
It does.
Its pout sort of sticking out there, which is one of the snout characteristics. So I'll put it down there.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
There we go.
So that's called a fan foot.
Get a better view. A fan foot. Lovely.
And we've got another hawk moth here, and a rather tiny looking specimen of small elephant hawk moth.
Oh, wow.
Really tiny. They're not usually as small as
No,
that.
it's very petite, isn't it?
Even though they're called small elephant hawk moths.
Yeah.
They're normally
Oh,
a
it's
little bit
beautiful.
larger than
Yeah.
that.
Shall we pop it down?
Yeah. There's a few other things on there. So.
Indeed. Lovely and colourful. Oh, that's...
I'm pleased that things are not flying away straight away.
No, I was slightly apprehensive
Still
that we
cool
might
in here, I think that's the thing.
be chasing
we'll
things.
set it up.
And Dave, this is a really colourful moth. So where does this moth go during the day? Where is it going to sit to be camouflaged, not disturbed by birds and things?
One of the places they like to sit is on willow herb, rosebay willow herb, willow herb, which is masses of pink flowers, and they can often be seen sat on there. Well, they would take a bit of finding, but that would be one of the places they would. Yes.
Absolutely beautiful.
They are.
Look at that tail. There.
It's in good condition, but it's just a very small one. And that will be to do somewhere within the development stage of the chrysalis or the caterpillar. That that either cold or warm can dictate how big they are during their development stage.
Great.
Now, also on that tin, we have another ribboned wave, which we had earlier, and down in there, a different species, which is the common white wave. Both geometers, as you can see by the way they're lying flat. And you can see that one is much whiter with some cross lines.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of Footman in there, but I think that one's a common. This one is a scarce again. Ooh, and underneath we've got a few things. A ribboned wave again, heart and dart, and small magpie. All of those we've seen already.
And Dave, it was the full moon last night, which can negatively affect what you can get in a moth trap, can't it?
Yes, because we think, although it's not been proven, that they navigate by the moon and stars. And if it's a cloudy night, then they obviously can't see that. So that's why they come to bright lights, house lights, or moth traps, hopefully. And we always look for a cloudy night. Moth trappers are always looking up. Oh, it's going to be a cloudy night tonight, warm, perfect conditions. If it was coldish, and of course it gets colder when it's a full moon generally, and there's stars and moon out, then we tend to get a lower catch. Still worth doing, but generally lower numbers then. But they still don't really know why the old adage is moths attracted to a flame. They still don't really know. When they approach the light, they seem to go around in circles, in ever decreasing circles, and then they can't seem to break from that thing. They can't get away. Do you know what I mean? So you would have thought by navigation they would realise at some point that it wasn't a moon, and they would go elsewhere. But it doesn't seem to work. So there might be something else going on that we don't fully understand. Okay, we're getting there, but it's a bit slow. It's just another wainscot there. I won't bother with that one. And there's just a clay and an uncertain on there, which we've had before.
Yeah.
And heart and dart and another uncertain. So all moths we've had already. And here we have the actual buff tip. So this is the master of camouflage.
Look at that.
Called the buff tip, and it looks absolutely like a split piece of birch twig, silver birch. So that grey colour looks like a twig of silver birch, and the cut ends, the sort of buff colours at both ends, which look like a. It is absolutely marvellous. My favourite moth, without a doubt. And it's so confident of its camouflage that it will just sit all day, in a suitable position, because it doesn't fear being predated.
No.
It's so good. And
absolutely astonishing.
They are amazing things.
Look at that. That is just a twig with legs. That's not a moth. That's amazing. Incredible.
Amazing thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to save this one.
Can you hear one of our buzzards flying up overhead?
Right, okay. Just rescuing a few there. That's one. Oh, actually, on that one, sorry, with the buff tip, there was another moth I wanted to look at. Down in there, rather nice little one. In there, can you get that?
Oh yeah.
That's a broad-barred white.
That's really nice.
Which is not something I see very often at all.
Little gust of wind there. And what can you tell us about the broad-barred white?
It's a noctuid, so it holds its wings tent-like, or more tent-like than the others. I don't know a great deal about it. I don't know what the food plant is without looking that up. It's just not commonly in my traps, so I don't know much about that. Shoulder stripe wainscoting. Oh, crikey! On the other side, didn't even see that. Oh, are we still recording?
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. Oh. Yeah.
Hello.
So here
Blimey, he's getting warmed up.
Yeah, he's going to go soon. So here we've got a drinker.
A drinker.
That's the name. And you have to remember that when the Victorians named a lot of these species, they were naming them from caterpillars because the moths flew at night, and they only had primitive lights probably. A lot of these species they didn't see as adults.
Right.
They might have tried to breed them on, but so a lot of the names given are the caterpillar name, and it was thought that the caterpillar of the drinker moth was drinking sort of water droplets from plants, which is where the name comes from. And there are a number of others, like the lobster moth, which the caterpillar looks like a lobster.
Right.
And there's other, like the kitten moths, a series of moths called kittens, where the caterpillar waves it's got two like tail projections, and it waves them in anger when people disturb it to try and distract people from it, or predators.
Wow.
So,
and what this moth is doing now is warming up its wings, so it's warming up its wing muscles so that it's ready to fly. Yeah.
Because we've disturbed it, it would have probably sat for the day otherwise. It's quite an attractive thing.
It is.
And it's got a large, very broad antennae, which the males tend to have that. That is a male. And the reason they have those is because if you imagine they're flying at night, they can't see, their vision is not great, they can't see the females. Where are they? They're looking to pair up with a female, they can't see them. So they use these feathered antennae to pick up pheromones. They're sensitive to the female pheromones, and they'll pick that up, and that will allow them to home in on the female.
Wow.
There's also thoughts that they may also detect bats, sonars, so that they can take avoiding action. And you may see films, people have filmed bats and attacking moths, and occasionally the moth senses the bat just at the last minute and drops out of the sky to avoid being predated.
Blimey. That's incredible.
So that's the drinker.
Yeah, not a bad collection in front of me here.
Indeed. Oh, we've got an even better thing here.
Oh, a better thing, right?
This one I very rarely see. Let's hope it doesn't fly away. Unfortunately, it's not in good condition, but it's called the peach blossom.
Oh, wow.
And if it was in good condition, fresh, it would be quite rosy. Some of the spots would be sort of rosy coloured, which is where the name peach comes from, peach blossom. But even so, it's not a moth I see at all regularly.
Wow.
In fact, I don't think we've had one here before.
Oh, crikey, right. A first for the Nature
barn.
Trek moth trap.
Yes.
Excellent.
Peach blossom.
Peach blossom.
Beautiful thing. And the rest of those are uncertain type and clay. Oh, and a better burnished brass. Here you go.
Oh, that's very nice. Yeah, you can really appreciate the colour there. Wow, that's fantastic.
So we're getting a good little lot here today.
Mmm.
Here. Ooh, the box is collapsing on me. There's another spectacle here, but again the eyes are not particularly obvious, I'm afraid.
Here we are. Yeah, oh, spectacle. You can see the quiff very nicely.
Oh, the drink has landed on you.
I have a drinker on me. Crikey,
Typical
I don't
Friday
know.
night down the pub.
Don't know whether we can see this. Excuse
likes
me,
nature
sir.
trek.
Have we met? Right.
Oh,
There we
he
go.
is.
He's off.
And this one here, oh, he's back again.
He's
Oh,
back. Yeah, he's gone off now.
this one here is called an engrailed.
Mm.
It's a geometer, quite a large geometer, and it has quite nice sort of wavy lines on it.
Very nice. Excellent.
That's just a clay there, we've seen that before. It's still going. Nothing really on that one, uncertain and wainscot. And same on there, shoulder stripe wainscot and an uncertain. Straight rustic. And I've got another hawk moth, amazing, and this one is an elephant hawk moth,
Oh, an elephant.
as opposed to the small.
Yes,
This
yeah.
is
Oh,
an elephant
wow.
hawk
Look
moth.
at that. That is absolutely stunning.
So he's got lovely pink underwings there and a black spot, I think, as well. And they use that. Normally they would be slightly more closed than that if they're resting, and you just see the greenish pink colour. But if they get approached by a predator, they will flash the wings open, and the shock of the pink on the black, and sometimes an eye spot or something, might dissuade the predator from attacking it. And
Could we pop it next to the small elephant
we
so
can
that we
try,
can
yeah, where is
so that we
there
can
he
just
is.
see the difference?
We should try. They tend to hang on to people rather, or anything that
Oh.
they really do sort of.
There we go. Oh,
it's
that's
starting to
perfect.
warm
That's
up,
brilliant.
unfortunately.
Yeah, well, that's all right. You've got them both side by side there, so you can really appreciate the distinctions between the
Yes, the small
Warming
elephant is considerably sort of
smaller.
pinker, I was going to say.
Yes.
But, yeah.
No, it is. Yeah, but it's
It
got
has
very really different markings.
It has a slightly different shape to the wing as well. It's slightly more cut. Well, that's not bad. 3 hawk moths in the trap. That's good going. Okay, carrying on then. And here we have another quite nice one. This is called a green arches. Can you see that?
Yeah, yeah. If we just pop it down.
Oh, I can't get it to stand up. Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
So it's quite a nice one.
Green arches.
It's a noctuid, quite a large noctuid. You're doing well today for different species. And here's another one. This one here is called a Scalloped Oak. Oh, and there's another one on the other side as well, another good one.
Oh, exciting, exciting. It's all go with the Nature Trek moth trap. This is a Scalloped Oak, so presumably
Scalloped
because
oak.
of the scalloped edging on its wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously it favours oaks. And then on the other side, a rather beautiful thing, I like these as well. This is called a Buff Arches.
Oh.
So we've had Buff Tip just now, but
yeah, that.
I'll put that down
Blimey.
actually because you can get a...
Yeah, let's pop that.
It's got really
Into
amazing...
stay.
I love
There we
these
go.
moths with just a little bit of sort of, what would you call it, lacy markings or filigree.
Yeah, yeah.
And it has these little white lines across it. That's in good condition, that one.
Yeah, that's lovely. That's absolutely beautiful.
And you've got a little grass veneer again there, one of the
Yes.
micro moths
Yeah.
next to it.
Can...
But they are rather smart, those. Peach blossom, buff tip, buff arches, doing well. Okay, nearly there. A lot of moths on here, but mostly uncertain rustic types. Heart and dart and a buff ermine just falling off the edge. And a common rustic. Yeah, most of those are ones we've seen already, uncertains. And on this one we've got another burnished brass, which we saw just now. You might want to get in the sun just to see the colours. There's a nice buff tip there, and some wainscots on the underneath. But if you can get it in the sun, it might just shine a bit.
There's another burnished brass, which we've seen.
And there's 2 boxes left, which I'll just get these out. 2 uncertains.
And the name of this cream coloured one next to the burnished brass, Dave? Can you
There's
just...
a buff ermine.
The buff ermine, yeah.
And here are just uncertains. There's another burnished brass.
Oh, right.
About the 4th one, a clay and some uncertains, rustics. Down in here, the last box, there's another buff tip.
Beautiful.
Not quite in good condition. Well, it actually looks more like a twig now. 'cause
It
it's
does.
had its tail. It's rather roughed up.
That
It looks
is
like the
astonishing.
splinters on a...
It does, doesn't it? I'll just have to pop that in the light to be able to see it.
Just
better.
check there's nothing else.
We have got something
Oh, there's
there.
another, a lovely, look at that one. It's a lovely
Oh, it's got
buff
its wings out.
arches there.
Yes, yes,
Absolutely
yeah. Let's have a look at that. Right. There we go.
2 buff arches is good run. Good go.
That's the buff arches. And on the other side, there we go. There we go. Let's turn this.
I might need to...
And now moving to,
So we've finished doing that. We're just emptying what's left in the bottom.
but here,
And here we've got, if I can just turn it over,
it's got very fluffy legs.
is a yellowtail moth.
Lovely.
So I think
And-
sometimes if you
Yes,
You
oh,
can
we got a
see the
flash of
yellow-
it. Yeah, yeah, got a flash
see
of
the
it.
yellowtail there, I don't know if it...
Ooh.
Ah, no, it's going.
Right, oof, crikey. Right, it's gone. It's gone.
Little flash of the tail there.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty
And
much,
that.
except for this thing here, which I'm going to put in a pot because I can't quite see what it is. That something flew out there, which was a blood vein, but it was rather poor condition. And I think that's pretty much it, really.
Well, this is our collection. Dave, thank you so much for talking us through all of this.
Been a very good trap. I'm very pleased with that lot. What we'll do now, obviously, with them all lying on the table here, we don't want to feed the birds with moths because we've got a responsibility to look after them, having caught them. So what we're going to do is hide them dense vegetation in the garden, and then they can just sit happily there during the rest of the day, and then they'll fly off tonight. if you're doing moth trapping, or if I was doing it at home, the other option is to put the trap, cover the trap, put it in the shade, and then release them at night. So there's two ways of doing it, but what we don't want is to leave them lying around on the table, because it'll be just like a smorgasbord for the birds. So much as we like birds, but you know, it's too easy for them.
Yeah, exactly. Right, well, thank you all for joining us for another Nature Trek moth trap, and we will see you again the same time next month.